All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Shri TRIBHUVANATH Prabhu. Hare Krishna. You're welcome.
Oh, glories. So,
How are you doing?
yeah, Krishna's grace. I'm doing well.
All right. Good to see you.
Yeah, Prabhu, my voice is edible, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's audible. I can hear you.
All right.
So we're going to put the verse on the screen.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
And then we may start.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Shri TRIBHUVANATH Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Oh, glories. So,
there seemed to be an echo.
yeah. Yeah, Prabhu, my voice is edible, right?
Yes. Yeah, your voice is
Thank
good. Yeah, it's audible. Okay, Hare Krishna Prabhu, you may start.
Okay. Narayan Namaskritya Narochaiva Narotama Devi Saraswati Dyasam Patudaya Mudaya Nastutra Yistura Vaidis Nistya Bhagavatam Siva Bhagavatam Tamas Loki Bhakti Bhagavatam. Okay. Magyan Timiranjis Janan Janashla Chakshu Aminitan Yino Tasmai Shri Guru Hare Krishna. So we'll be looking at two verses, right? 6 and 7, right? Okay.
6 and 7, yes.
Okay, we'll take the 6th translation, then we'll recite the 7th sloka, right?
Okay.
The translation says, due to anxiety and long separation, they all cried out of affection. King Yudhishthira then arranged to offer sitting accommodation and reception. Okay. As text 7, Tam Buktuam Visharatam Asam Sukham Asam Priya Yanatu Rajam Prahas Vitam Cha Trivitam. Translation: after Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, he was comfortably seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present, there listening. King Yudhishthira was expert in reception. Also, even in the case of his family member, Vidura was well received by all the family members by exchange of embrace and obeisances. After that, bathing and arrangement for sumptuous dinner were made. And then he was given sufficient rest. After finishing his rest, he was offered a comfortable place to sit, and then the king began to talk about all happenings, both family and otherwise. That is the proper way to receive a beloved friend. or even an enemy. According to Indian moral code, even an enemy received at home should be so well received that he will not feel any fearful situation. An enemy is always afraid of his enemy, but this should not be so when he is received at home by his enemy. This means that a person, when received at home, should be treated as a relative. So what to speak of a family member like Vidura, who was a well-wisher for all the members of the family? Thought Yudhishthira Maharaj began to speak in the presence of all the other members. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Prabhuji.
So we have important subject before us today, and we see that our reception is being glorified. Reception in the Triya Upanishad is referred to as Atiti Devo Bhava. The guest is your Lord. So before we begin to speak about this today's subject, which I have seen more than 3 or 4 commentaries are there, what I wish try to tune what Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Dira Damodara has left behind, so I can get nourished also. So I see the numbers of people are there. So I request your attention and request your blessings that I should be able to say a few things for my purification and for the benefit of the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavi who I'm seeing at the audience. Here we see reception is being glorified. In this world, there is nothing like reception. Even in daily dealings, whether we call it a Kriyastal home or social dealing, whatever the relationship, if there is no proper reception, that relationship will not go anywhere. And what is the situation here that is before us? I will give a little cite a little itihasa, which has very much concern with the sloka we are going through now. The situation here is a little bit after the scene of Kurukshetra. But before the scene of Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra has ordered Sanjaya with a letter to go see Yudhishthira, requesting Yudhishthira that since you are a godly person, you are a righteous man, we have no tinge of land for you. You better just go to the forest. Stay in the forest with your family. Don't bother to come back. And when this letter has reached Yudhishthira, Krishna was there. Yudhishthira was really dumbfounded. He could not offer any comments. So he threw the response to Krishna. And Krishna has given a very hot response. And this also has given a lot of agitation to Sanjaya. And Sanjaya went back with this response to Dhritarashtra. When he arrived at Stinapur, he just threw the feedback to Dhritarashtra without even giving him any proper details. So this Rasta was really worried. So he told him when he was leaving, maybe tomorrow in the court, you can hear the feedback and you can hear all that has, transpired. So this Rasta was really worried. So the following day, he called for Vidura and he called for setting. So Vidura in that court have been speaking, telling right from onset, have been talking with Dhritarashtra regarding his attitude. His thought has to face. One aspect is Dharma Sastra. Right from the beginning, he has been speaking Dharma Sastra. But when he was returning now, which we have today, the conversation changed because when he was insulted because of his last comment was he gave to Dhritarashtra after series of emphasis on Dharma Shastra, what is right, what is wrong, what you should do, what you should not do. You are not treating your cousins where you are treating things like this. So he mentioned something to Dhritarashtra, which actually triggers Dyuda. What he mentioned was, he said, one can be abandoned for the honor of family. The family for the sake of village, the village for the sake of community. And the earth itself should be abandoned to save one's soul. So when he finished this word, he cross-checked it with a particular word. He said, please, Dhritarashtra, you abandon this Judah. Abandon him. Because this is not the first time Vidura have used this word. The very first time that Duryodhana was born, so there were so many sounds, different sounds, and this sound were like serious omen. Jackals was shouting, different sounds we hear here and there. So Dhritarashtra called for Sanjaya and request Sanjaya to interpret what the meaning of those different sounds is. Sanjaya interpreted all the different sounds that was heard when Duryodhana was born. And at the end of it all, the same thing, what he's saying as his conclusion here, the same thing was given to Dhritarashtra. This is just the beginning now. Why don't you just do away with this song so that you can be peaceful in the future? Like the word entered through the ear and flowed out through the other ears. So in the last of it, the same word is still used, and this word at this time, Duryodhana was in the court, and he really triggers him. He went up of his seat and said, with a really agitated mind, he said, who have asked this man who is a slave of us, who has eaten our salt, the salt of my father? Not just only eating the salt of my father, we have fed him, but now he's a traitor, taking sides of our enemy. He said, toss them out of this palace. There was no comment from any of the elders who were sitting on that court. Vidura, think about the Lord. And two thoughts resonate from his heart. And these thoughts, he could see the dealings of Maya. How Deoda and his family, his brother, were going to be doomed. And he also see how the internal potence of the Lord, the super soul, have helped him actually, manage himself, that he will not disturbed. He will not morose, he will not sorrowful, nothing of the such. But he sees that a great advantage to abandon these families of youth who are going to be doomed. He dropped his bowl, just like Maharaj have said yesterday. There's so many commentary to that, dropping of the bowl. Some said it signifies affection, blind affection, that we are binding him to the court, things of that nature. But the whole essence is this: he left the kingdom. He came to Vrindavan, going to different pilgrimage from here, from there. So, but these different pilgrimage he was, going through, he was hearing different, news about the massacre that has taken place between the Kuruva and between the sons of Pandus and the sons of Dhritarashtra. He had all the stories. Somehow he was like, some connection was still there, some feeling was there. So this feeling was like, it arose in his heart, a feeling of a feeling of love, a feeling of we can say a feeling of family connection. So when this feeling arose, he met with Uddhava. At this time, he was at Prabhu. He met with Uddhava. So Uddhava now direct Vidura to meet with Maitreya Rishi. So when he met with Maitreya Rishi is not influencing with spiritual knowledge. Brahma Vidya or Atma Vidya, the knowledge of the soul. And these actually inspire him a lot, especially when Maitreya Rishi talks about King Prashina Bahisa. He gave analogy of Puranjana. He speaks about how King Prashina Bahisa have been conducting one sacrifice from another, one sacrifice here, one sacrifice there, one sacrifice there. So, but Narada Muni asked him, what is the aim of all this, your sacrifice? One sacrifice is not yet finished, you're conducting another sacrifice. What is the aim of all this? What do you intend to achieve in all this sacrifice? Narada Muni has given him, an allegory of Puranjana. He was unable to understand the essence. So he requested Narada Muni that allegory was not very clear to him. So by the potence of Narada Muni, he opened his eyes to see all the sacrifice, the animal he's annihilating, he's killing, the reaction is waiting for him. How the reaction is waiting for him. So when this conversation was going on, Vidura remember Dhritarashtra. So this thought of Dhritarashtra were the one that had drive him back. So now the text we have today is a preparation of Yudhishthira, giving him what is expected for him, a special guest. But we notice these days that these Atiti Devo Bhava, the guest is your Lord, reception in our movement today is gradually depreciating. So I'm very sure if I ask the devotee about the experience of this Atiti Devo Bhava, the guest is your Lord, the reception in our movement, their experience of it, they are going to say so many things. Especially I see so many wonderful, those who are staying in the temple and those who are not staying in the temple. So many people there. The experience of it. So the experiencing is gradually depreciating. So in our discussion today, this was just like a background to the scene of today's our text. But I have a different approach. I would really like to go a little deep in terms of looking at the merits, demerits, and solution. If we look at the importance of this attitude saver, our reception to others, the importance of it is overwhelming. Like we have begun the talk. No home can be well situated or can stand the test of time without the wife having this idea of attitude. If a home can stand a test of time, the wife has to cultivate the idea of attitude. Otherwise, it will only be exploitation upon exploitation, as BHAGAVATAM, Canto 5 has mentioned. That the wife, the children, they are like tigress and jackals. This mentality will pervade the whole family, only for exploitation. But if this attitude saver is there, wow, my God, it's like heaven on earth. Home becomes heaven on earth. We will cite different examples to this. I think in one of the purport to that Canto 5, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that when a man works so hard, just like in text 6 also, so much anxiety is there in the material world. A man has worked so hard in the office, so much confrontation from the staff, from here and there. So those agitations, he's taking those agitation to his home. But when the wife hug him, embrace him, say sweet thing to him, all those agitation automatically is forgotten. So, but if this idea is not there, the reverse will be the case. Family life becomes, a dark well covered with grass. There will not be peace. The children will not be peaceful. The home will not be peaceful. The man who claims to be the master will not be peaceful. The wife who claims to be, who claims to be the head will not be peaceful. Because if we look at it in a more holistic sense, the man is just the servant of the house. The wife is actually the proprietor of the house. In our daily experience, no farmer can plant a seed without a soil. The woman, they are like the soil. So for a home to be home, this attitude idea of influence should be in the middle. We are going to cite a few examples. The importance, the merit and the demerits. First of all, we'll look at the demerits. What are the demerits of this artistic saver? When it's not being followed, when it's not being recognized, what are its demerits? What are its effects? Daksha has a doctor, Shakti. And Shakti was in a ashram when he heard from the Celestial that the father was conducting a yagya, a big yagya. But the father has not invited her nor the husband Lord Shiva. But Sati was so overwhelmed because he had heard the celestial being. They were discussing, and they were discussing it, that they were discussing about the forum, and they have also dressed so nicely, so gorgeously. So with this mood, Sati ran to Shiva, and he tells that, my father is conducting this yagya, and I see all the celestial, ladies. They are all well dressed. It's also good seeing the famous daughter of my father to be there also. Shiva said, "What? There's nothing wrong. You are attending the forum of your father, but your father has some deviance over me, and because of this, you may not appreciate. You may not be appreciated or welcome. You may not be received. You may not get any reception." So Sati was not happy with this response. He thought that, why will Lord Shiva, who is the topmost Vaishnava, will have this kind of mindset? Who ought not to have this like and dislike? Why are they having this kind of mindset? So somehow she smuggled herself in, and her mind began to dance up and down. She could not conceal what she had heard from her Lord, and somehow, with the agitation of the mind, she left. She went to the function where the father was conducting the yagya. Unfortunately, as the husband had said, Lord Shiva, that you will not be received, you will not be welcome. She truly was not welcome, nor was she received. And this agitates her mind more. And she ignited the fire within. This is one aspect of the merit of it. We have another aspect also. We see from the light of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, tried to climb the lap of his father, but he was not being welcomed. And this also agitates Dhruva to take a different approach to life. But the famous one, which I will, a little touch on, is the one that really, how does it affect our spiritual growth? How does it, really deal, how does it check our spiritual growth? Campo has given a very wonderful explanation to this. Adi Kesava, who have written the book, the Six Goswamis of Vrindavan, very wonderful book. Rupa Goswami have desire to have darshan of Radharani. Often, this has been a lot of his desire to have darshan of Radharani. So one time, because whatever we desire, definitely, especially spiritual desire, it becomes. So this desire was beginning to fulfill. It is said that Rupa Goswami, when he recites Bhagavatam, it creates satisfaction, peace, and love for anyone who hears it. So different people from different parts of the world used to come to meet Rupa Goswami, for guidance about their bhajan. And Rupa Goswami give a lot of different ideas on how they can do bhajan, and his response to their doubts and confusion is always satisfying to his audience. that they really loved the way he satisfied their question. But when Rupa Goswami began to have this the darshan of Radharani, so sometimes when these people come to find out or to get response to their doubts or their confusion in bhajan, though Rupa Goswami will be there with them, but subtly he's seeing what is happening in the spiritual world. So these people will stay there for some time, hoping that Rupa Goswami will come back to external, will come back to consciousness, to discuss with them. But long time will be there, but still Rupa Goswami will not come back. So after staying some time, they will leave. But there is one particular interest of this story. There was a layman called Krishna Das. So one time Rupa Goswami was in this mood of meditation, seeing what was happening between Radha and Krishna. Radha was about to pick a flower on top of a tree. But whenever he jumped to pick the flower, it like a little bit, but somehow she was unable to really pick the flower. So Krishna was in a little bit distance away and he was seeing this thing, seeing the scene. So Krishna went a little close to Radharani and he pulled the branch of the tree down for her to pick the flower. So as soon as she grabbed the branch of the tree, Krishna left the tree. And the scene was like a pendulum, like going up, going. So Rupa Goswami was seeing all these things. And it was like, wow. It was really overwhelmed with this sight. So this sight externally give a kind of a smile to his face. And this Krishna Das was coming in that was coming to him that morning. And upon seeing Rupa Goswami, having smile in his face, so he thought that Rupa Goswami, who's supposed to be an exalted Vaishnava, why is he laughing at my future? Is it because I'm lame? That's why Rupa Goswami is laughing at my future? So he take it as an offense. Because Rupa Goswami was laughing at him, there was no reception for him. So he just take it as an offense. So instantly, the vision, the scene that Rupa Goswami was seeing went off. Then Rupa Goswami tried as he could to see that those vision was brought back, but it never happened as he thought. So he realized that something was happening, but he was unable to figure it out what was really happening. So he went to meet Sanatan Goswami's elder brother. And he explained the whole thing to him. And Sanatan told him, you must have committed Vaishnava Aparada, knowingly or unknowingly. So Rupa said, I don't really know if I have committed Vaishnava Aparada, knowingly or unknowingly. But how do I really know if I have, committed this Aparada to Vaishnava? So Sanat Goswami said, you make a feast and invite all the Vaishnava. Personally, the one who refused to come, then you meet with that one and find out the reason. As Sanat Goswami has advised, Rupa Goswami did. He made a suction feast and he invited all the Vaishnava. But this layman did not surface, did not appear. So in the evening of it, Rupa Goswami went to meet the layman and asked, I invited you, but I didn't see you. What happened? So the layman began to speak. He said, I thought that you were so exalted Vaishnava, but I could not understand because of my deficiency. As soon as you saw me coming to meet you, you started laughing at me. Oh, it struck Rupa Goswami's heart. Then he began to explain that I was not really laughing at you. It was the sin that. But the point here is that knowingly or unknowingly, because he was not received, we see how Rupa Goswami lost the sight of his spiritual vision. This is one aspect of not receiving gaze. The reaction of it, as far as it concerns the Vaishnava. So this was Rupa Goswami's experience, teaching us the importance of Atiti Seva to Vaishnava. So what are its demerits? What are its merits? The merits are sufficient for us to take to heart and to see that day to day we try to practice it. If we look from the different aspects of our tradition, let's take example of the theological tradition, the Western tradition. Just by Atiti Seva, reception to the guest, Abraham was able to use 2 stones, 1 stone to achieve 2 things. Abraham was able to use 1 stone to achieve 2 things. 1, Abraham was able to know that his aged wife will have a son. Not only that, he was able to know that the man who has given him this information, they were going to Sodom and Gomorrah to destroy that city. Just by Atiti Seva. So we say even from not getting Atiti Seva, we have also said that a dancing girl who has a profession, in satisfying men, which was mentioned in Canto 11 of Srimad Bhagavatam, called Pingali. Not getting Atiti Seva, she became a renunciate. All her thought of her profession was eradicated. But how do we develop this Atiti Seva that day to day we see that is part of our life, is part of the way we think, is part of the way we relate with people, because these are the tool of spiritual life. Atiti Seva. The guest is your Lord. How do we develop this taste? How do we develop this culture that is gradually, depreciating from our movement? How do we, and individually, how do we develop it? That we often practice, we often apply, we often, because if we want to analyze every culture, we will see that this particular, reception is there. You want to talk about the African culture? The African culture, which have, a liking with the Vedic culture, is there. A guest will not tell you through the call or through any media that I'm coming to your house. No. The guest is respected, the guest is worshipped. How do we develop this Atiti Seva, which will help us progress, tremendously in spiritual life? There are 3 solutions, there are 3 points here which I'd like to share with you. I'd like to share. The first one here is neutrality. If we have this neutrality in dealing with issue, in relating with people, definitely we'll have a sense, a great sense of artistry, a great sense of reception to others. Because when we have a reception, a neutrality as part of our dealings, then it will be mindfulness. Neutrality, we've seen a lot. We've seen how Krishna applies it in different aspects. Whether in Bhagavatam or in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna applies often. And the second solution here is being mindful. In Bhagavad Gita, the idea of mindfulness is there. Just like, giving the analogy of a tortoise. The tortoise will bring his head out when there is any little change, he takes the head back. This idea of being mindful with what we say, with what we do, everything, being mindful of it. And the third solution here, I call it PMA, positive mental attitude. A positive mental attitude is that ability to see everything as the will of the Lord. There's no difference. Everything, whether good or bad, it is the will of the Lord. If we develop this three key principle, first one being neutral in dealings, being mindful in dealings, and having wonderful idea of PMA, positive mental attitude. And this can be achieved by our constant recitation of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Even with these three in daily practice as well, if these three practices are not there, we may be chanting the holy name, but we might not be hearing what we are chanting. So, but when these three practices is being recognized in our daily life, when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, we hear. So by hearing this chanting, then we are being mindful. Because if we look at the sequence of it, from neutrality, we get mindfulness. From mindfulness, we get, positive mental, attitudes. Seeing all things as Krishna's favor, seeing all things as Krishna's mercy, or seeing all things as Krishna trying to instruct me in one way or the other. So Srila Prabhupada have said in the purport, he said in the beginning of the purport, King Yudhishthira was expert. Why was he expert? Because he's mindful in reception. Also, even in the case of his family members, he's neutral. In spite of all the challenges, in spite of all the situation that Diyuda and his father Dhritarashtra has created for them, or created for him to battle with, he was neutral. He never find fault with Dhritarashtra. No, he never find fault. Then in the middle of it, this means that in the middle of the purport, the purpose give it talks about Niti Sastra. According to Indian moral code, even an enemy received at home, according to Indian moral code, even an enemy received at home should be well received, that he will not feel any fearful situation. So, see, an enemy is always afraid of his enemy, but this should not be so when he is received at home by his enemy. So this means that a person, when received at home, should be well treated as relative. Should be well treated as relative. So, but before this aspect we've read, there's a particular point that Prabhupada, mentioned before. I think that the second paragraph or so. So this is the proper way to receive a beloved friend. So what is the proper way? In Atiti Seva, there are 5 basic principles. There are 5 basic principles to receive a guest. This is from a Vedic perspective, 5 basic principles to receive a guest. The first one here, when a guest comes to your house, the first thing you offer to him, form of a worship, deepa. Deepa means some fragrance, deepa. Then the second one, lamp. Then some eatable, some akshta, some rice, some tilak on top of the head. Then pushpa, some flowers. These are 5 basic things to worship a guest. So this is areas of the Vedic culture. But we can actually develop these ideas by keeping to heart these 3 basic principles that I have, thought of giving here. The first one is being neutral in dealing, being mindful, and cultivating the idea of positive mental attitude. But this PMA, positive mental attitude, is very essential, because once we have that, we'll be able to give a maximum reception, a maximum welcome to others, because that is the beginning of spiritual life, actually. Seeing the good in others and appreciating others. So from this text, then what's it called? Yudhishthira is going to, which would be the following text. Yudhishthira is going to start speaking about the glories of Vidura by allowing the audience to know how Vidura has helped him and his brother in different way, in different plan, in different situation that was created for them, for their annihilation. So these are the different exchange that will be taking place after this particular test. So in summary, I have said that the subject of today is actually on reception. And I have tried to draw some different importance of how it relates to our spiritual practice, and how if we apply in our spiritual practice, it will be very productive. I have looked at its merits and demerits. In its demerit, I have mentioned different personality. I talked about Shakti, Dhruva Maharaj. I talked about its implication in our spiritual practice if we don't take cognizance of it. And how I overview it by bringing his merit closer by citing the theological idea, theological approach from the Western tradition of Abraham, achieving two things with one stone. Then I have drawn a conclusion in the form of principle by giving three notions to take cognizance of. The first one is being neutral to situation, and the second one is being mindful, and the third one is PMA, positive mental attitude. Positive mental attitude, we can look at it from many perspectives. What it actually means that we are nothing. We can only be something when we recognize others. If we don't recognize others, we are nothing. So I leave the room, or I leave the floor for questions. Questions, comments? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Tribhuvanatha Prabhu. Thank you. There were lots of stories to buttress the point of how important it is to receive a guest. So at this point, dear devotees, any question, any comment? Hare Krishna Maharaj. His Holiness Bhakti Damodara Maharaj is Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Jai Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jai Maharaj. Obeisances to you, Maharaj. Maharaj, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I didn't see you in the beginning. I wanted to take your permission so that I can tune the remnant you've left behind. But somehow Krishna still brought you here. I'm so grateful, Maharaj.
I was not wanting to give blessings, so that's why I didn't see me.
Maharaj, thank you. Please give me your blessings. I'm on my knee, Maharaj. Please, your blessings, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Maharaj.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Well, Tribhuvanatha Prabhu, I have a question for you.
Yeah, please. Give me a question.
You see, from my view of point of how devotees deliver the scriptures, not particularly you, but the devotees in general, including myself. Oftentimes we speak the scriptures, but we do not help our audience to apply the scriptures in our today's world sufficiently, in the sense that oftentimes when we speak from knowledge and realization, what we've heard from others. So from where I am, it is very difficult to live like the way Srila Prabhupada. I'm not saying you're saying anything other than what Srila Prabhupada said. You're just saying what Srila Prabhupada said in the paper. Srila Prabhupada said that when an enemy even visits, you treat the enemy in such a way that you feel it's a relative.
Okay.
That is very difficult to practice in where I am, because I was sharing a story about how a young guy, because he hated a particular race, went to a church where there was this number of people worshiping. He went there, worshiped with them. They discussed the Bible. And then after everything, he shot them and killed them.
Okay.
Now, so it creates a sense that even though you want to receive people, but I think you should also be careful whom you receive. And in this way, it restricts the Vedic teachings, like how we have to receive. And so I am thinking, I'm asking you to also give a better idea, but I'm thinking that despite the fact that we have in scriptures how to live our lives, we should also, according to time, place, circumstance, know how to use or apply these teachings given to us. Otherwise, if we just follow it like a blank check, we just receive anybody, everybody, then there's going to be a problem. What do you think?
Yeah, the quest has so many branches, but if you want me to say something, what I think I would say, I can have given two principles. The first principle is that we have to be neutral, because how many things can we do really? If we said we are practitioners of spiritual life, then there should be an exemplary personality we're following. Okay, I will cite so many. Maybe I will give you a few examples. For instance, if you have gone through the Brahma Lila, the Brahma Vimohan Lila, you can understand that Krishna is teaching us lessons. If you have read or got through the Govardhan Lila, you can also understand that Krishna is teaching us lessons. What is the lesson he's teaching us in all these things? Be neutral. So what you have said, it can be handled, it can be approached in different angles. It all depends, as you mentioned, as you yourself have mentioned, place, time, and circumstance. This should not be given up from our life. Shall I properly apply this principle? But the essence of it all is that let us be mindful of what we have. That is the point. We should be mindful of what we have and see that these two we have, oftentimes we apply it so that it can help us progress in spiritual life.
Well, Prabhuji, thank you. Thank you for that. You talked about neutrality, which I think it doesn't help much.
Okay.
Neutrality may help at some point because I've heard from many Srila Prabhupada's disciples. They asked Srila Prabhupada, there are many relationships a soul can have with Krishna. So what relationship should we have with Krishna? And Srila Prabhupada's answer was, initially, you have to relate with Krishna on the level of center neutrality. But we cannot relate neutrally with everybody and have a very deeper connection. For example, I cannot relate with Maharaj as a neutral person. I have to relate with him as a guru. I have to relate with my kids as my kids. I have to discipline them. And so neutrality has its benefits, but it's only at the beginning of relationship. And so if you are saying that when we develop neutrality, and then that which is the first one, the second one is you said the thought, we discipline our mind. And then the third is whatever happens is Krishna's will. I mean, which is also scriptural. But I have said this on this platform a couple of times that if we say that whatever happens is Krishna's will, Krishna's sanction, and if we truly believe that, then why do we preach? Because whatever somebody is doing is Krishna's will. But we understand that Krishna's will is there, but it's there because somebody wanted to do that, and then Krishna allowed him. And so when I act something stupid, I cannot excuse myself that that is Krishna's will. I just didn't act right. And so I would want you to throw more light or give more explanation. What do we mean when you, like you saying it, that we have to address or deal with situations neutrally, which cannot be applied at all times. It could be applied at some times, but it cannot be applied at all times. And what we say that whatever happens is Krishna's will. When somebody is just acting stupid, somebody is insulting a superior person, and he said that is Krishna's will, so just let him insult him. I don't think we can do that.
Yeah, you're through with your question, Prabhu?
Yes.
You're done with your question. Principles, they are true. They are true. You understand? So I have given 3 principles, and these 3 principles, they are different tools we can apply for us to, develop this loving reception of others. The first one I mentioned, neutrality. Neutrality is a principle. The second one I mentioned, being mindful. Being mindful, it doesn't mean that it means that you know your superior and you're giving your superior what is expected of him, of you. Then the second one, having this sense of seeing things from the angle of Krishna's message. So what I have given is a principle, and they are not something that that one cannot apply. You can apply them. You can apply either one, and you will get the results. If you apply neutrality in some particular situation, why do we actually dislike people, or why do we actually find fault with people? Why do we actually not having good relationship with people? Because this idea, just like you mentioned, my wife, my children, this is my mind. When there is this my there, then there is attachment. And when there is attachment, it is difficult, to really give a right judgment, or a right to give a right a right say in a particular view. So, but when we are deal with every issues in a way that is neutral, automatically we see the essence of every situation. We see the essence of every circumstances. So the 3 things I have given, they are all principles. You can apply neutrality in some circumstances. You can apply mindfulness in some circumstances. You can apply, positive mental. These are all principles. But the whole essence of these 3 principles is that they enhance us to be more involved in our spiritual practice. Because when we are involved in our spiritual practice, then we develop this barb of reception. We develop the barb of, seeing everyone as Krishna's guests.
Well, thank you, Prabhu. I will let someone else go ask whatever question they have or whatever they want to say. But thank you so much, Yadunat Prabhu. Oh, Maitri Shikadev Goswami Prabhu. Hare Krishna. On me.
Hare Krishna. Please
Hare
accept my obeisances.
Jai
Jai Tribhuvana.
All glory.
Please accept my humble obeisances,
All
Prabhu.
glory to you.
I'm very, very joyful. I listened all through. Thank you. My question is in regards to what His Grace Sahadev Prabhu said, and also in regards to what you just reiterated again about being neutral. Now, if we are spiritual practitioners and we tend to apply this principle of neutrality into everything, sometimes some people we think that we are heartless and we don't have compassion, because nowadays in the way the situation is, everyone, every individual, every soul is wanting someone that shows a sign of care for them. Now, if we act neutral to everyone because we understand the principle of you are not this body. We understand the principle. We understand what is most important. But then when we become too neutral to everybody, they would take it like we are not too compassionate. Now, being neutral and being compassionate, how do we bridge these two? Because it looks, it doesn't tally, because if we are too neutral, then we don't have to, there's not going to be any compassion. Now, sometimes it also depends on the point of view. Sometimes you are too neutral to some people, they will take it for granted. And sometimes when you act neutral in a certain way, some people also see it in a different way. Now, when you speak about this spiritual neutrality, does it entail a certain emotion or it does not? This is just the question, bro.
Only you can answer this. Only you can raise this question. Wonderful question. We are neutral to the body. We are compassion to the soul. That is a simple response to your question. We are neutral to the body and we are compassionate to the soul. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Suka.
Hare Krishna. Well, this simple answer is very interesting, but it raises question also because if I'm neutral to the body, we just I would say less than about 2 weeks ago, we played one of Bhakti Swami Maharaj's tapes on this forum.
Good.
And in that lecture, Maharaj was explaining how one can have authentic compassion.
Okay.
So in that lecture, Maharaj was giving a reference to His Holiness Sarup Maharaj's explanation, or like a dissertation of the word compassion in Sanskrit, which has 5 different limbs.
Okay.
And to make it short, Maharaj was saying that compassion covers the totality of the individual.
Okay.
There are different aspects of our being. I have my emotional needs, I have my spiritual needs, I have my financial needs, I have so many other needs. Now, if we just look at the spiritual need of an individual and do not care about the person's psychological, physiological needs. And so oftentimes we're like, well, somebody is sick. It is not the soul that is sick, it's the body. Do we just go tell the person, just chant Hare Krishna? We do that? So like what Shukadev Prabhu was saying, if we stay on this neutral, see, this is what I like to do, that we bring out what the scriptures is telling us, and then we talk about it, how we can put it in our lives, because we are a preaching organization. We talk to people. So when people come to us and somebody is sick, and then we say, you're sick, you just have a boil. It's your skin, it's your body. I see it, I don't give a damn about it. But we cannot do that. See, that is where, when I hear devotees preach, I ask questions so that devotees will have a better, clearer understanding how we can apply these sublime teachings in our world.
Okay. So what is your question now in this analysis you're giving?
No, I did not. What I just said is not a question. It's a comment. What I'm trying to say is that when we read from the scriptures, when we hear what the great sadhus have said, we try to see how best we can apply them in our today's world. But it's even said, Vyasadeva himself, he carefully gathered the information and then packaged them in such a way that it will be compatible for today's age. So just like I cannot, of course we are on this forum, But if somebody just came to the temple and then asks me, who is this boy and this girl, rather than Krishna, and then I tell this is God and this is his wife, it might be true, but it's not helpful. It's not the way we present it to neophytes, you see.
So why do you refer yourself as neophyte? No, I don't see any neophyte, among the audience here. Anyway, thank you for the comments you've raised. I listened to it in a more nice manner, and I think that they're all interesting. I see that the audience, they're all devotees, practicing devotees, long devotees. So I was speaking like I talk like this. Otherwise, I have a different way presenting issues like this, and I have just run through the content. The content is all about reception. And this will say that Srila Prabhupada has given. Srila Prabhupada have, if we really want to go deep in this, Srila Prabhupada talking about Niti Sastra. Niti Sastra has so many things you have been analyzing since, and the principles have given their all from Niti Sastra. Niti Sastra is all about rules, principles to live life, daily life.
Yeah.
So, any more questions?
Hare Krishna, any question, any comment from devotees?
We say, okay, let's take a different, let us quickly drive another point home. Initially, Vidura was speaking with Dhritarashtra, giving different principles from Dhamma Sastra, but he never all go well. Vidura takes from here and he goes through the other way. But when he hears the science of, Atma Vidya, the science of the soul from Matriya Rishi. So as soon as he threw that stuff to Dhritarashtra didn't waste time. Him, his wife, they all left, even unnoticed, to Sanjaya. Sanjaya gets the benefit of seeing what was happening, because Dhritarashtra requested, when Vyasadeva asked, you want to see the scene in Kurukshetra? He said, no, I don't want to see my children be killed. You have said that all my children are going to die. Let Sanjaya see it. So what is the point here? The point is that principles, they are meant to save situations. Look at the principles Sanat give to Rupa Goswami. You may not have offended any person. You may have offended somebody, but just make a feast. Invite the Vaishnava. Then if anyone did not show up, find out. This is a principle. And he did, and he got a result. We want to get a result for Krishna, not for ourselves. Okay?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, thank you. Shri Shukadev Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
How do we, this last sentence you said is really, it's very striking. We want to get results for Krishna, but not for ourselves. And the question is, how do we get results for Krishna? And how do we know that we are actually getting results for Krishna? This is my question, Prabhu.
Oh, nice. How do we get results for Krishna, and how do we know we are getting results for Krishna? I know that Bhakti Dirada Mudara, he used to give a lot of answer to this question. I will remember one of his questions. I will remember one of the answers he normally gives to this particular question. It's like, how do you know that what you are eating, you are getting nourishment from? Is it from the tongue or from the food? So, how do you know? So, the consciousness is there, Baba. If we do something right, we'll feel. If we do something wrong, we'll feel. And the idea of the definition of bhakti is I2K. It has nothing to do with motivation. It's selfless. And if we do things selfless, we'll see how joyful we are. But if we do things with, with some sentiment, with some motivation, we also see the results. And I will not leave, the section will not be wind up without giving, the last recommendation from Jiva Goswami on this topic. Jiva Goswami has given us a recommendation. And that would be the conclusion of today. You want to hear the recommendation Jiva Goswami has given? Somebody would like to hear?
Sure, yes.
Okay, thank you. Jiva Goswami has said, if we don't develop this attitude, reception for the guest, appreciation for the guest, he said, 5 things happens to us, and we can experience this. We can know about this. The first one he mentioned is everything we do, we will not get satisfaction from it. Dissatisfaction. The second one is in our mind, there is always incomplete. Some sorrow will be there. Incomplete. The third one is fear. And the fourth one is worry. The fifth one is lamentation, never satisfied. All right, the sixth one now. The sixth one is illusion. These are Jiva Goswami's, thought on this. So you see, we hear yesterday Maharaj emphasized it, and he drew it to our own doorstep, the importance of it. To the extent that he drew it that we should learn how to say sorry. Why do we not say, is there every situation we will be saying sorry for? Nobody raised that comment yesterday. Is there every situation we'll learn to say sorry to? If somebody do something, do knows like they do, we say, is there what he has given is principle? Learn to say sorry so that we can carry on. Learn to say sorry so that we don't check ourselves back. These are our principles. Saying sorry is a principle. You have the right to say sorry, you have the right not to say sorry. But if you want to grow, if you want to move on, then say sorry. India never tell anybody sorry. I never hear sorry in India. Even somebody step on your leg, he will not tell you sorry. But I have seen somebody inside the altar. Myself and His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, whenever I come to Vrindavan, he likes to do 2 seva in the altar. He wants to do snan for Bhaktisiddhanta and Prabhupada. And sometimes if he have the time, he wants to do snan to Go Nitai, which is the place I serve. So one time I was trying to make arrangement for him to do the snan for Bhaktisiddhanta and Prabhupada. So somehow he stepped on my toes. I never take cognizance of it. So when I go close to him to assist, he said, Prabhu, sorry, I step on your toes. I learned so much from it. I learned so much. That insignificant thing, if Maharaj can say, Prabhu, sorry, I step on your toe. So there's more to learn. So these are principles. If we want to carry on, this principle, we should think about it. The first one I give, learn the principle of neutrality. Don't take it to heart. Don't take it upon your head. The second one, let us be mindful on how we relate. The third one, let us develop a true attitude that this is Krishna's mercy. PMA, positive mental attitude. Not only to things, at least to all devotees.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Anyone else with anything to say? Oh, Giridhari Mata, do you have your hand up? Giridhari.
Oh, Giridhari is there.
Yeah, Giridhari is here.
Giridhari, what is your question? I'm also seeing your friends there. So what are your questions? Puja, what is your question?
So sorry, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, it was a mistake.
It was a mistake. Okay,
Well,
what is your?
we've heard your voice.
You should raise your question. I know you have so much question. So give your question. Your friend is also there. What are your questions? So Prabhu.
Well, maybe she doesn't have question. We don't want to push.
Okay.
But Tribunal Prabhu, if you have a minute or two, I have one question.
Okay, please go ahead.
All right. My question is, see, we are lucky, we're worshiping beautiful Krishna.
Yeah.
But we know Krishna is Shiva.
Yeah, good.
Different flavor.
Yeah.
Now, I once gave class on this same narration you told about Lord Shiva feeling insulted by his in-law, Daksha. But we see how when Lord Krishna went back to Dwaraka, when all the citizens were offering homages to him, he was also offering homages back to them. You know,
okay.
But here is Lord Shiva. You go to your in-laws' function, and you feel insulted because you were not given a very special recognition. But in that environment, you should also give respect to your in-law.
Okay.
And you get offended and then they cut off his head. You know, so what do we learn from that? What do we learn from Lord Shiva? Like, let's say I am a very superior person, and my son, oh sorry, my daughter is coming to have your son, a husband, or for a wife. So I have to show you some respect, and then because I do not show you respect, you cut off my head. What do we learn from that as devotees? What's the lesson?
Yeah, there are so many lessons we can learn because these particular stories you mentioned, it's not just from the surface. It has a deeper sense. You know, if we go through the deeper sense, we see that there has been some certain things that has happened in the previous life before having the person in his head. We cannot just speak from the surface. So it has a previous settings, and that previous setting have led to the number one Vaishnava taking off. And we also have it in also that if someone blasphemes, is superior. You see, yes, on that principle again, if we cannot be neutral, if we cannot chop off his tongue, then we'll be neutral. Neutral and leave this. Neutral and leave the scene. Okay, I give you the last point here. The last point from the theological idea from the tradition, Western tradition. You know, a man have two sons, and one of the sons meet his father one morning. He said, "I need all that belongs to me." Generally, the father died before the children begin to say, "This is what belongs to me. This is what belongs to me." But the father is still alive, and the son is saying, "I need all that is my quota." The father didn't say, oh, okay, this is your contract, go away with it. And after a period of time, the son is returning. And the father is welcoming him back. The father is welcoming him back. And the other son is saying, Father, but he said, don't worry. Everything I own belongs to you. One person treating, different issues, treating, seeing how he's applying the principle of neutrality. So we should develop this idea if we really want to grow and cultivate, a sense of, reception to others. Because one of the, like I mentioned, if you look at the idea, the ideas of ISKCON today, it's about things and projects. Things, projects.
Yeah.
Reception is gradually depreciating. The session is being given to those who have portfolio. He said it, because I'm observing it. For those who don't have portfolio, you're on your own, or you're on your own.
I guess because we are in the challenging reception is also on just one leg, reception is on one leg, dying. Yeah, you're right about that. Thank you so much, TRIBHUVANATH Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. I admire you so much, and I admire your name too, because you remind me of TRIBHUVANATH.
Actually, that is
disciple.
That is the mercy of His Holiness Bhakti Dira Damodara. He has nurtured me, cultured me in many ways. So if I act otherwise, my Lord will not forgive me.
Hare Krishna.
I will not forgive.
Well, thank you, Prabhuji, for making the forum so lively today.
Thank you so much.
And please, you are on the program, so please shower us with some of the blessings.
Okay.
We are getting Friday here in this part of the world, which is like Sri Prabhupada said, is if you don't know hell, come here, you see this is hell. So thank you.
So like I would say again, this platform that is being maintained is a wonderful one, because when Sanatan glorified Srimad Bhagavatam with about maybe about 6 stanzas of his glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the things he mentioned, one of the stanzas mentioned, he says Srimad Bhagavatam, as sadhu, if somebody who is a sadhu, he will make it a sadhu. Just Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. Somebody who is a sadhu, who is not a sadhu, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, he will become a sadhu. So this is Sanatana, glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have all we need to be happy. But sometimes we have this thought: do I take this? Do I leave this? Do I, just like somebody who has so many dresses? When you open the cover, you begin, like bewilderment. So the brahmachari don't have so much. The brahmachari don't have so much. They have this. They don't have problem with so much dress. They have only a few, saffron dress. So those who have, they have this problem. Do I take this? Do I leave it? So it's a problem. This is the challenges we have. We have, most of you understand this challenge we have in this, in our practice, especially in the West African region. Do I talk to this person? Do I leave this person? Do I do with this person? This contemplation is there. But we have to give up this. We have to give up this idea and deal with people as it is. Learn as Maharaj has encouraged us yesterday very well. We should learn to say sorry so that we can move on. We learn to say sorry, automatically we develop the idea to welcome and appreciate others. Well, I don't want to say further than this. I thank you all. Prabhuji, SRIMAD Vahahat. I see Prabhuji is there.
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I thank you for your...
Prabhuji, have something to say, Prabhu?
No, I'm definitely, he will say something because I think I have to hear from him.
Yes, I would like to hear from him too. And I think...
Prabhuji, please give your word, give your comment.
Yeah.
Give your comment.
Period of service, but I was listening, I was following. And yes, thank you for, you see, the super soul is very strong. I really wanted to say something, but I had some visitors and I thought maybe I would not be able to say. So, but the super soul, Paramatma, really wanted me to say something. So, TRIBHUVANATH Prabhu, I'm very excited to hear you. First time I'm hearing you. And it's been very enlightening, very enlightening. I love all the principles you gave, and I think they are wonderful. If they are applied, fantastic. So I thank you for such a very nice presentation of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, and please keep it up. I'm inspired. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So, at this point, we ask all the devotees, please unmute, and then we chant Big Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation for Prabhu's presence and delivery. Jai Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, all glory to praise Shri
Prabhu Baba Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bolo, bolo.